Could never dream of. It's a little embarrassing, but I tell you what, I'm a very lucky guy. Thank you, Dallas. I love you.
Tony Romo at the Mavs game last night being honored. And you know what? I think, Ryan, you can tell a lot about a man, about how he plays basketball and how he warms up. And I think Romo looked pretty good out here.
Is that really a category for you? You can tell a lot about a man from the way they hoop.
I used to say you could tell a lot about a man how he plays pickup basketball. And Tony Romo looks like he has the goods. It looks like life after football for Romo. So far, amazing.
Yeah, pretty cool last night. The city honoring him. Obviously, Mark Cuban behind this theatrics at the Mavs game. We didn't see some of his other shots. The fadeaway air ball against Dirk while he was guarding him.
Come on, Ryan,
we didn't
you
show that
buzzkill.
one. But hey, the guy's an athlete. Clearly, he's played his share of pickup basketball, which now we know is big in the Maggie ranking of how to find out about a guy,
Yeah,
I guess.
no, how do you tell about a man? You tell how he plays pickup basketball. Ryan, I think life for Romo post-football may actually be better than when he was occupying the most high-profile position in sports, and that is being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, look at what's happened so far. He walks into the #1 broadcasting team of CBS. He's not going to be calling any Jaguars games or Browns or Bills games. He's going right to the top best games. He's already got a new blazer. We saw that in the photo as well. Now he's getting honored at the Mavs game. I think that actually life after football will be better for Tony Romo. He doesn't have to get hit anymore, and he walks around like a hero. I would love to walk into an arena or basically anywhere and tell someone, insert name of city, I love you, and have them cheer. This is like stuff that rock stars do, and Romo was getting, a standing ovation.
Well, clearly Romo was very comfortable. He found himself in a spot he spent a lot of time in last year, and that was on the bench for the Mavs last night instead of on the court. Even though Cuban wanted him on the court, the league wouldn't allow it. Will it be better post-career? Yeah, I think physically, absolutely. No threat of any more back injuries, collarbone injuries. He's safe as far as we know. But I tell you, the media, a lot less glamorous than the world of playing quarterback for the most popular franchise in all of sports. I don't know if the spread in the CBS production meetings is going to be quite up to par with what Tony is used to getting as QB of the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And he's hanging out with Jim Nantz. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how he transitions over, Mag, because I've interviewed him. I think you've spent time with him, too. I found him to be very laid back.
Yeah, he's
laid back on TV. I don't know if that translates all that great.
This is what I liked about the little 6 seconds of speech that he gave to the folks at the Mavs game. He was self-deprecating. He was like, this is embarrassing. I realize I'm not actually part of the team, even though we got a team photo and he was able to be there for the game. But he was a little deprecating. I think if he uses that approach when he goes into the broadcast booth, he's going to instantly disarm everyone. He's going to win everybody over. After watching that, I'm actually more of a believer now that Romo's post-football career is going to be just nothing but sunshine and rainbows.
Yeah, hopefully he has some fun with it. Obviously, he knows the game. And from the quarterback perspective, who better to talk about the X's and O's in a big game than a guy who's played in big games like Tony Romo has. It should be very interesting, though. The spotlight, the Monday morning, I guess, quarterbacks are going to be watching Romo every Sunday and picking him apart.
I don't know. After seeing that, I think he's going to be okay. Meanwhile, the NBA's regular season ends today. The last game for James Harden and Russell Westbrook to make their cases for MVP. Now, for some perspective on just how far Harden has come, we went back, Ryan, way back, and caught up with his high school coach, Scott Pera. Now, Pera was recently hired as the head coach of the Rice University Owls. And, of course, we spoke to the coach from his office in Houston. It comes your way courtesy of Toyota. Let's go places. James Harden may be on the verge of winning the NBA's MVP award in 2017, but was professional stardom a given for the 5-time All-Star? For a closer look at Harden's journey, let's welcome in his coach from Artesia High School in Lakewood, California, Scott Pera. He was recently hired as the head coach of the Rice University Owls. Coach, really appreciate your time today. How would you describe James Harden as a high school basketball player?
Well, I think it's just kind of an evolution. I mean, when he was younger, he came in, he wasn't the quickest guy, wasn't the most athletic guy, but he could shoot, and he had good basketball instincts when he was young. As he got older and his body changed, some of that athleticism started to come into fruition, and his game started to come together. But I tell people a lot of times, James is really good at a lot of things, but he learned to play the game on the ground because he wasn't real athletic. He learned all the fundamentals of the game first, and then when the athleticism came, it all came together for him.
When did you realize that James had NBA talent?
His freshman year at Arizona State. I mean, I thought, as he evolved in high school, I knew he'd have a chance to be a Division I player. Then when he was end of his junior year, a high major Division I player. But then his freshman year at ASU, the stuff he was doing, I realized he was going to be a pro. I mean, he had games in college that were amazing. I mean, we beat UCLA at home, and they had probably 4 pros on that team, and he was the best player on the floor. He scored in the 30s against a great Baylor team. I mean, he never lost to Arizona the 5 games he played them. So there were certainly signs that he would be able to be a good pro. But to get to the point he's at now, nobody would have predicted that. This has just been incredible to watch, and I couldn't be more thrilled.
You mentioned that James really developed his game on the ground. He's now famous for his own take on the Euro step. How long has this move been in his repertoire?
He learned that in the NBA. I can take credit for a few things. I'm not taking credit for the stuff he's done in the league. He's been amazing with how he has added to his game every offseason. And, I've been following and I read this stuff about how James is one of the best in the world at decelerating. It's amazing to think about that somebody did a study on that to try and figure out why he's so good at drawing fouls and that Euro step, because he can go from full speed to stop, I guess, quicker or better than most professional athletes. And that's an amazing thing to think about. It's really helped him in his creativity. And also the Euro step is part of his mind. I mean, he's a very creative guy. And so he creates some of this stuff on his own. And then his ability to translate it against the best players in the world is truly amazing to watch.
Like any other high school player, he's not above a little bit of bribery. We've read before about the bet you used to make with him that if he could get to the free throw line a certain number of times, you would buy him a hamburger. If he did not get to the free throw line that many times, he owed you some win sprints. Harden now averages almost 11 free throws per game. Do you still have the urge to go buy him hamburgers?
Well, I think he can buy the hamburgers now. It's funny. You just try different things with different kids. And I wanted him to understand the importance of because he came to me as a very good standstill shooter. So any kid that is good at something, that's what they naturally want to do all the time. And I kept trying to talk to him and tell him, if you want to be a great scorer or a really good player, you have to add different things to your game. So you need to learn to take contact. And I told him, every time you get knocked down, you got to get back up, not look at anybody funny, not talk to the refs of the other team, get to the free throw line and give them 2 points. And so that's where that bet came from, to challenge him a little bit. And, he takes things to the next level. And I think I probably bought a lot of hamburgers that week.
I bet. Speaking of taking on a challenge, the topic of resting players in the NBA has really been front and center all season. And Harden recently came out and said, I'm not resting at the end of the regular season. Does that sound like the James Harden you know?
Absolutely. That doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, James, he respects the game. He appreciates the fact he gets paid a lot of money to do that. He also appreciates the fact that he's got a lot of fans that want to see him play, and he loves to play. So I'm glad he said it. I love that he said it. It made me very proud as one of his ex-coaches. And obviously, it was ironic that a week later he got the flu and missed a game. But he's missed 2 in the last, 4 years? I mean, and both, one was because the NBA made him miss, and one because he was too sick to play. So when he's able, he's playing.
Harden always said that he'd be happy as a 6th man in Oklahoma City. I mean, are you buying that, or do you think he was just saying the right thing to be a good teammate?
It's tough. Look, James appreciates what he's been given, the opportunity. I know he feels blessed to be in this position. That Oklahoma City thing was obviously very interesting, and had it stayed that way, who knows? Maybe he would have been happy because maybe they'd have a couple rings by now. But I know this, as a coach, it sure would have been hard to keep him as the 6th man if he kept getting better and better and as good as he is right now.
We see Harden just thriving in Mike D'Antoni's system. As a coach yourself, why do you think this fits him so well?
Well, he has the ball in his hands, and then that's where he's at his best. I mean, he's creative. Coach D'Antoni obviously has a proven track record with what he did with Steve Nash that excited James. And so obviously the acquisitions of Eric and Ryan really got James excited in the offseason. And I think he saw early on that this would be something that could be a perfect marriage. And it certainly has been tremendous to watch. And I hope they can make a long playoff run.
When did you first notice the chin hairs?
Arizona State, when he started growing those things his freshman year. When I was coaching him in high school, that wasn't even a thought on the radar. But they started coming out his freshman year. He got that thin beard, and then I don't think he shaved since.
Did you ever think it would grow into the force of a beard that it's become?
It cracks me up, only because I've seen it from all the way from the beginning. I like messing with him sometimes. I grab a hold of that thing and he gets mad, and I mess with him about how much food is in there, what animals are living in it. And so we joke about it, but hey, I give him a lot of credit. I mean, he's done a heck of a thing with that beard. If you go to a Rockets game, it'll blow you away to see all those people wearing those fake beards and how much they love them. And it's just kind of, grown into a life of its own, and it's become a part of who he is. And I think it's really cool.
It's not maybe one animal, Coach. It's like a family that could be living in that beard and really set up shop. Before we let you go, if you have one story that just best encapsulates Harden or your relationship with him, is there one that comes to mind?
Well, there's a ton of them. I've been a part of this journey the whole way through. I was at his draft table in New York in Madison Square Garden the night he got picked third in the draft. That's a special moment in my life that I will never forget. I was there in Vegas in 2012 in the press conference when they announced him to make the Olympic team. He was at my press conference just most recently 2 Saturdays ago. And a quick, I guess one of the things that'll be lasting for me is, standing next to him with, 10 or 12 media questions being fired back and forth at us, and us in arm answering those questions will be a lifetime memory for me. It was awesome, and I'm just really appreciative to have him with me in the city.
Coach Scott Para, we know you're busy, Coach. You were just hired as the new men's basketball coach at Rice University. You got a lot to get to. We appreciate your time and your thoughts on James Harden. Thanks so much.
No, I'm glad being here. Love talking about James, and super proud of him. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All hail Russell Westbrook. The Thunder guard broke Oscar Robertson's single-season record for triple-doubles. He's averaging 32, 10, and 10. He's the first person to average a triple-double since Big O did it in '62. He brings it every night, and he's put a mediocre Thunder team on his back and led them to the playoffs. I'm not that impressed. Now I realize it's the Debbie Downer of sports takes. Kind of like calling Wilt Chamberlain a ball hog for scoring 100 points, or reminding people that Hakeem won 2 rings because Jordan was playing baseball. Or that guy that says Kobe won 5 titles but 3 were Shaq's. Or Shaq won 4 titles and 3 were Kobe's. You get my point. A guy running the steeplechase is doing more things than Usain Bolt, but he's not better at track. Westbrook is the steeplechase guy. Now we're celebrating stats, which are nice, but kind of hollow if you're trying to pad them. Russell Westbrook led the NBA in uncontested rebounds. He's the only non-big guy in the top 10 in that category. Obviously, the Thunder big guys helped him, so let's take it with a grain of salt. The number that doesn't help Westbrook, he shot 42% from the field and 34% from 3. He shoots more than any player in the NBA. Tell me the last time a volume-shooting point guard led his team to an NBA title.
Kyrie Irving.
Kyrie Irving? He shot it 16 times a game last season. Westbrook shot it 24 times a game.
What about Steph Curry?
Steph Curry? He shot the ball 16 times a game in the Warriors' title year. And who keeps yelling stuff? Everyone keeps saying Westbrook has no one on his team. Hello, he's one of 3 top 5 picks on the roster. Of course, the other 2 are Victor Oladipo and Enes Kanter. But let's address the elephant in the room. He did this without Kevin Durant. Well, maybe this is part of the reason Durant left. The ball doesn't move in Oklahoma City. All the offense goes through Westbrook. It's not how you win titles. Now, we all say we love ball movement. We love the way the Warriors play. It's a lot different than the way Westbrook plays, so you can choose one or the other. I know some of you want to throw things at me right now. You can't really do that on the internet. But if Westbrook doesn't get out of the first round of the playoffs, he'll come around. If he goes on a postseason run, this style of basketball, I'll fly to OKC and hand him the MVP trophy.
You don't have the authority to do that.
All right, at least I'll admit I was wrong.
Great stuff from our man Andrew Perloff right there. All right, well, the NFL draft is just about 2 weeks away, and a recent ESPN report says with 15 days to go, the Browns are still unsure who to take with the #1 pick. It was thought Myles Garrett would go #1 to Cleveland, but according to Adam Schefter now, there are some in Cleveland that may prefer quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. Should the top pick be used on a quarterback? That's the big question. Let's take a look at some interesting draft history here, Maggie. Over the last 15 years, 11 quarterbacks have been taken #1 overall. That group has produced two-time Super Bowl winner Eli Manning, an NFL MVP in Cam Newton, 4 above-average starters, 2 complete busts, as we see there, and a couple who the jury is still out on. So, Maggie, when you look at that list there, does that support the case of, yes, you've got to take a QB at #1?
Well, that's not all the history we're looking at. Let's go back even further. The previous 15 years, you had 7 quarterbacks who were picked #1 overall. So you have 2 all-time greats on that list. Of course, Troy Aikman and Peyton Manning. 4 long-term starters and then just 1 bust. Sorry, Tim Couch. So, okay, now we have a lot of data to work with. Obviously, the premium put on a franchise quarterback is more now than it was, 20 years ago. So we know that's true. But in my opinion, Ryan, I still think that if a team needs a quarterback, they should absolutely take that quarterback with the #1 overall pick. Considering that the rookie wage scale was implemented in 2011, you no longer have players who are holding out for $50 million guaranteed money. And now everyone gets the same 4-year deal with a 5th-year option. You're averaging just about $22 million. So it's no longer that franchise crippling mistake if you take a quarterback #1. So if I'm the Cleveland Browns, and I don't think Trubisky is going to be there at number 12, another pick that they have in the first round. In fact, they have 5 picks in the top 65. I go ahead and take him with that #1 overall pick. If you like him and you think he can be your guy, why not go out there and use that top pick on him, because the risk is so much less than it was back in the day.
Yeah, you make a good point on the risk factor. Absolutely. It's cheaper to get a quarterback through the draft right now than it is to sign through free agency. It's not even close, as we've seen with guys like Brock Osweiler. I think the debate whether Mitchell Trubisky is worthy of #1, I don't think there's much of a debate. I don't think there's anyone that clearly thinks he's the top player in this draft, but it comes down to need. I'm all in favor of a team picking the guy who they want, regardless of where they draft. Now, I'm a little skeptical, though, of this report, because this has leakage written all over it that the Browns are looking to trade this pick. First, it came out that maybe the Browns might not take Myles Garrett with #1. Then all of a sudden, Mitchell Trubisky's name got attached to the Browns as well. We all know the Niners at #2, they need a quarterback. Kyle Shanahan has met with Mitchell Trubisky, so this is a lot of posturing. One thing I did learn, though, from looking at those numbers and the stats from 30 years ago and then the last 15 years, you mentioned the premium on quarterbacks is much higher. Yeah, the game has changed a whole lot. This is a quarterback-driven league. They guys are slinging it all over the place. And teams that go deep into the playoffs, they have a franchise-caliber quarterback. Is Mitchell Trubisky the next of those kind? I don't know.
We have
Browns
no idea.
think so? Go get him then.
He started, 13 games in college, and we have no idea whether or not his limited amount of exposure in college will translate to NFL success. But I would warn the Browns. Listen, of course you want to use the draft in their favor. You have 5 picks in the top 65. You have more after that. You got to work the draft. That's what the good general managers and good front offices do. Look at Bill Belichick, does it every year. You turn those later picks into big ones, even leveraging for down the road. But I would be afraid to pass on a talent like Myles Garrett. If all the scouts are right, you take him with that #1 pick and then start wheeling and dealing. If you feel like the Jets are, an option to take Mitchell Trubisky, and they are maybe going to be one of your biggest competition, biggest competition that could take him off the board before he gets to 12, I would start dealing afterwards. I would hate to have that regret of passing on a Myles Garrett by trading back that #1 pick, and then he turns out to be the next great pass rusher, because as much as you need quarterbacks in this league, you need pass rushers as well, as we've seen by the great defenses that have come through as Super Bowl winners lately.
You hope Garrett's not the next Davian Clowney, what we saw coming out of that spot.
I think Clowney's still going to be great, though. He was coming off of arthroscopic surgery. I'm still in on Clowney.
One idea floating around today was that they take Garrett and then they trade up for the 2 to get Trubisky with some of their bulk of picks. That
I don't
could
know
be
if they'll
an
get all the way
option
to
as well.
2. If you get all the way to 2.
I think it depends on how strong interest there is coming from San Francisco, because the next spot in the draft would be the Jets at 6.
Well, of course,
for a QB.
We're not sure if Shanahan may want to wait out Kirk Cousins if he really does think that Cousins is his future.
15 days to go. I still think a lot is going to happen
that's
over
exciting.
the next 15 days. All right, Maggie. Well, the NHL playoffs start tonight. The Washington Capitals are the favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year, but don't sleep on the teams from north of the border. There are 5 teams from Canada in this year's playoffs. Here's why they may be dangerous.
It's the NHL playoffs and Canada is back. After 0 Canadian teams made the playoffs last year for the first time since 1970, now 5 teams from Canada have locked in a spot this season. The last Canadian team to win a Stanley Cup was the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. They're back in the playoffs after a rare absence last season. The Habs are led by goaltender Carey Price, who is the key. He's returned to full health and has a league-best .929 save percentage in the last 3 seasons. The Ottawa Senators continue to overcome adversity to grab the number 2 seed in the Atlantic Division under new coach Guy Boucher. Boucher wasn't even coaching in the NHL last season, and now he's riding the ship in Ottawa. Toronto got the final Eastern Conference wildcard slot, and Maple Leafs rookie Austin Matthews is putting up top numbers. The first overall pick has scored 40 goals this season, the first rookie to do so since Alex Ovechkin. Oh, by the way, the Leafs face the Caps in the first round. The Edmonton Oilers end their 11-year playoff drought behind the incredible play of rising superstar Connor McDavid, who leads the NHL in points with 100 and assists with 70. Let's see how the 19-year-old sensation will fare in his first playoffs. The Calgary Flames are looking to change their narrative. It's only their second playoff appearance in the last 8 years. They're hoping to make a run with a young and balanced offense. 4 of the Flames' top scorers are under 25 years old, and while they don't have a 30-goal scorer on the team, 12 players have scored at least 12 goals this season.
Can't wait for playoff hockey. Well, Ryan, are you watching the newest season of Total Divas? What kind of question is that?
No. Real Housewives of New York is on at 9 o'clock tonight. That's in competition with the Divas.
Well, this is why the TV gods created DVR. You need to go to E! Channel tonight, 9 p.m. That's where Total Divas is going to be airing. Of course, Lana stopped by our studio recently to talk about her rise to fame and her very bright future. Real. Total Divas, Wednesday, 9 p.m. It's so great to meet you, Lana. We saw John Cena and Nikki Bella get engaged in the ring in WrestleMania. You are married to Rusev. Any advice for the newlyweds?
Oh, advice. I feel like they're so wise already. But I would just say love each other and respect each other. But you know, when you have true love, real love, love is selfless. And so I feel like I see that in their relationship. And when I was actually watching, I snuck into the stadium. I watched it all live, and I couldn't believe it. I was literally crying. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening. Last year, Nikki was in a neck brace at WrestleMania. I didn't even know if she would ever wrestle again. And you're going to see her come back this season. You're going to see eventually her engagement, and then you're going to see her wedding, and it's just like, wow, this is truly a fairy tale story of what happens when you work hard and you're positive, and all things are possible.
Meeting you in person, seeing you on Total Divas, it doesn't seem like you would have any similarities with your character. Yeah. Is there anything that you're taking from your real life and putting into Lana, the character?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I feel like any characters you play either in WWE or in a movie or a TV show, you have to find that extension of yourself. And that's what good acting is. But a lot of people don't know that I grew up in Russia and I speak fluent Russian and I lived there for 13 years. And so all of that is really a very close extension of myself. And I'm excited that I get to play something that is so, like when you meet me, is so different. People are like, whoa, you're the same person. Like people don't even realize I'm the same person. But I speak fluent Russian and I imitate my Russian ballet teachers that threw their shoes at me when I didn't do something right.
Is that right?
Oh yeah. Very like, when you think of Nadia Comaneci and you think of that strict Russian, Romanian gymnastic style training, that was my training growing up.
Sports fans remember you from something very different than WWE. Of course, there were some famous FSU cowgirls, and you were one of them. Brent Musburger sort of immortalized your group of friends when he said 1,500 red-blooded Americans just decided to apply to Florida State. You were part of that group. What do you remember about that time?
I just remember it being a crazy, crazy time. Like all of a sudden, like exposure and like somewhat of fame overnight, and just getting like endless amounts of Facebook requests, and like I couldn't even confirm everyone. And MySpace was a big thing back then.
A throwback right there, Lana.
And I just remember thinking, oh, I'm gonna make the most of this. Like I love tailgating, any sports that involves tailgating. I'm like, I'm in, dressing up, wonderful. And so I was just there to have fun. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm an entertainer, I'm an athlete, I'm a professional dancer, I break dance. I'm gonna see where I can take this exposure and catapult it more.
Do you consider that your big break?
I would say I've had a lot of little breaks throughout my entire life, and I would say that was like a form of break for sure. And then I would say when I got into Pitch Perfect, and then would say like big break was WWE.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Do you still keep in touch with Jen Sturger and some of the other FSU crew?
Jen is actually, we were roommates after the fact. When she moved out into LA, we were roommates, and she's doing comedy now. And she was the girl that taught me how to put makeup on. Like, I didn't know how to put makeup or straighten my hair, and it was her who taught me all these things of being an FSU cowgirl. I didn't know any of it. I'm like, I just want to go be in a bikini at a FSU game. And so she taught me a lot of things. I'm still friends with her, friends with all the Pitch Perfect girls. Most of the time, I stay friends with a lot of people that I've either worked with or gone to school with. Yeah.
Stephanie McMahon recently said that she believes Ronda Rousey would be just a perfect match for the WWE. How do you think she would mesh in the ladies' locker room?
I mean, I would be thrilled if she came. I mean, she's such a female that empowers other females, and she was one of the biggest people that started breaking through in the industry of basically fighting. If it's MMA, if it's WWE, and she main event, and I think it kind of and she was the trailblazer for us to start doing what we do in WWE. And you know, I'm so thankful for Triple H and Stephanie McMahon and even Vince of fighting for us and giving us these opportunities to show that yes, we are stars. We are superstars. And so I would love to have her there. I think it would be incredible.
But is she better served to be a heel or a face?
I mean, I think people are going to explode if she comes because, I mean, how can you not cheer her? But you never know. It's all about stories, I mean, Brock Lesnar's a perfect example. You know, he's usually a heel, but at times he's the biggest baby face out there. Paul Heyman's usually a heel with Brock or whoever he's representing, but he has also been the best baby face. So I just think that, and just really about the story and kind of your attitude. Even though Brock always comes out there and just literally kind of crushes people.
Amazing. Total Divas premieres Wednesday, April 5th, 9 p.m. Lana, so talented. Thank you for that.
Thank you for having me.
Now, if that didn't convince you to put down the Real Housewives and switch over to Divas,
Two things I took from that. One is Lana's convinced me. I may take a look at the Divas show.
You.
Absolutely. I also learned that MySpace is old school. I got to cancel my account, I guess.
Yes. Ryan, delete your MySpace account.
Someone's got to tell me these things around here,
and
guys.
And also check all your credit card information and maybe your social security number, too. That clearly is not safe now. Thank you for watching SI Now. Ryan's got a little cybersecurity to take care of. We'll be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. But until then, stick with SI.com for all the latest news. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at SI Now Live. See you tomorrow.